Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 and our chats with Emily as we are calling our readings through the poetry of Emily Dickinson contained in the Johnson edition, the complete poems of Emily Dickinson. We're now at poem 87, a little short four-line offering. We've quoted before with some of the shorter poems of Emily that in poem 1063 she'll say, "Ashes denote that fire was." And I love that line because there is, in fact, something going on here. But if you don't have the background knowledge, this is going to be a very difficult poem for you to read. It is another letter poem sent in a letter, but we've got to talk about who it was sent to, or it's not going to make any sense to you. This poem will make little sense to you anyway. Now, our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net down that left-hand side. Again, our playlist, Chats with Emily. I'm hopeful that you have already studied our introductory set of comments, and I'm hopeful that you've already as well been a part of our previous 86 studies. We just finished with poem 86, South Winds Jostle Them. Now, this is a poem that does require some background knowledge or it isn't going to make much sense. The poem was part of a letter of 13th February 1859 to a Mrs. Joseph Haven. Miss Haven was married to a professor of philosophy at Amherst, and they had moved away recently to Chicago for a job that Mr. Haven had, and that was a good thing. It was celebrated. Emily will end the letter, however, by saying that she misses the geranium at the window, quote unquote, of their house, and, quote, the clustering frocks at the door. And obviously, there's a bit of an uncertainty about how she's supposed to feel about what's going on. Obviously, she wishes that Joseph Haven was still around, as well as his wife, and yet she is happy for him in his success. So, knowing all that, we can now read the poem and it makes sense. A darting fear, a pomp, a tear, a waking on a morn, to find that what one waked for inhales the different dawn. Now, obviously the different dawn is Chicago, and obviously we're talking about Joseph Haven, this philosophy prof at Amherst. She was close to him, close to the wife, and now gone. So notice it is a darting fear. In other words, it's one more time in so many of Emily's poems where a certain kind of absence is being articulated, a feeling of aloneness, isolation. Emily clearly feeling strongly when those close to her are not in her life anymore directly. So it's a darting fear. But then this pomp has to do with obviously the job that he got in Chicago. So that's good. And then there's a tear. Notice the Trinities again. And then there's a tear. In other words, she's sad by this. And then there's this waking on a morn, which of course we'll get to in the next line, to find that what one waked for inhales the different dawn. And obviously this is the idea that they have left, moved on to Chicago. So at the same moment, separation, to just talk now at messaging at 2A, separation is always hard, especially for pals, and there's always mixed feelings, especially if something good is happening for the individual who is moving away. I'm blown away at 2B the way she can phrase that in 4 lines of poetics. That's quite remarkable. I love the fact at 2B as well that the poem doesn't make much sense if you don't know some of this background information. But of course, Emily's not going to provide it. She's just going to write the poem in a letter. At 3A, I think we can relate this pretty easily to John Donne's Valediction Forbidding Mourning. You'll remember that we've given full lectures at this, I hope, at learnstrong.net. That brilliant poem where Donne writes to his wife about the fact that even though I'm gone from you, I'm still here with you, and you'll remember the conceit of the compass and all of that. Finally, at 3B, what was a time to try and own a poem like this? What was a time when a pal moved away from you? You were separated, and you were happy for them, but you were also sad for yourself. Emily, the most human of poets, I think. Thank you.